You're welcome to another live session with Dr. Ish on Brand Story School. It's such an amazing, let me try and set this up properly, an amazing opportunity to have you join me today in class once again. My name remains Dr. Ish, and today I will be showing you how to create an irresistible brand by positioning yourself on LinkedIn by telling the right kind of stories that not only captivate your audience but inspire action and convert your clients from just ordinary people that watch you to people that actually pay for what you do. We all know that storytelling these days has a way of creating that human connection that builds that relationship between you and your audience. It's all about creating human connection. And this is the reason why I decided that today we're going to touch on a very important point, which is the art of LinkedIn storytelling. So if you're new to this channel, my name is Dr. Ish. I'm a brand storyteller as well as a business strategist, and I teach you how to position your brand strategically to not only drive engagement, build an audience, but also build a profitable brand. Not just any kind of brand, but a profitable brand. So you're welcome to class. And please, if you're joining, don't forget to tell me your name, where you're watching from, and if there are any challenges or questions during the class, feel free to join. Like I said, today by the end of the class, you are going to learn how to not only inspire your audience, but also to drive action, because inspiration without action is not profitable at all. So at the end of the day, you'll be able to learn how to convert your clients from having mere conversations to conversion. When I mean conversion, I mean building a profitable brand that not only positions you for visibility, but also gives you money in your pocket. I'm sure you like the sound of that. So please, if you're just joining, you're welcome. Don't forget to introduce yourself, drop comments for me, and don't forget to subscribe if you are not already subscribed to this channel. So going right to today's topic, which is the art of storytelling. So I'm a class teacher. Please just forgive me. I have my board here. You may not be able to see exactly everything there, but I'm going to be calling every single thing out for you. And if you have any questions, please drop it in the comments, and I'll be very, very happy to respond. So today's topic is the art of storytelling. Now, it would have been amazing for me to also have people to tell me if you can define, if you are a conversant with storytelling, please feel free to drop what you believe the definition of storytelling is in the comment section, right? Just feel free to tell me what you think storytelling is, and I'll be very happy to tell you if you're right or if you are wrong. So moving on, for those of you that don't know, LinkedIn is also a very, very important visibility platform, but it's more professional based. Unlike YouTube that is more accommodating to all sorts of creators, LinkedIn is more professional. It's more it positions you more as a professional. Most times people imagine it's just for job seekers only, but no, it's not for only job seekers. It's for both creators, coaches, founders, CEOs, and it is a primary platform used to position yourself as a thought leader. We are going to be addressing not only the definition of storytelling, we're going to be talking about the brain science of stories. We're going to be talking about why emotional connection on LinkedIn is important. We're also going to be talking about why LinkedIn loves stories, and we'll be speaking about the trust ladder. Apart from the trust ladder, we're going to be talking about the different kinds of storytelling, which we have discussed previously some weeks back in our live class, and we'll be talking about different kind of formats used in creating your content, different kind of formats that makes your content more appealing to your audience, and of course driving conversion. We'll also be talking about the stick formula. I created a formula called the stick formula. That is STICK. Yes, the stick formula, and I'll be teaching you how to use it. So by the end of the class, I'll be sharing with you. If you can drop in the comments, or if you're in any of my classes, drop your email or your number or whichever way I can reach you. I'll send you the full comprising resource on the stick formula and how to apply it. So you're welcome once again. So if you have a problem with your brand, let's say your personal brand is not as vibrant as you want it to be or not as noticeable as you want it to be, if you want to learn how to create an irresistible and monetizable personal brand, then you are in the right place. And also, if you've been having challenges in the past positioning yourself on LinkedIn and wonder why everybody's talking about storytelling, what is this magic about storytelling, how you can learn story and apply storytelling, you are also in the right place. So I welcome you once again. I gave a brief breakdown of what we're talking about today, and I'll be going right into it in the next few minutes. So if you are just joining my class for the first time, please don't forget to drop in the comment section and of course subscribe. Tell me where you're watching from, what time of the day it is in your part of the world, and if you have any definition on what storytelling means to you. Now, I'll first of all share a story of my own experience with a client I would say mentored a few months back. She had over 1,000 followers on LinkedIn, but she had a major problem. And the major problem she had was that her content was not converting. She was posting regularly, and this is the same problem that a lot of creators and founders have, and coaches also have on YouTube. Basically, people say, be consistent, be consistent, be consistent. But what is this consistency really about? People also say, niche down, find your niche. What is also this niche about? So we're going to be discussing about what consistency really means, how this really applies, what niching down means as well, and how we can apply it to storytelling so that your content makes a bit more sense. All right, so if you really don't have so much of experience of writing on LinkedIn, or you have a profile you have not used for a very long time on LinkedIn, then you really need to get your pen and paper and take down notes as we are commencing with this class. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the brain science of stories. Yes, there's a science to stories. So most time you tell people or you talk to people about storytelling, they seem to think that storytelling is basically for only entertainment. Now, storytelling now is now monetizable. Storytelling is what personal brands and organizations are using to build that followership, that loyalty and trust with their audience. There's a lot of power in storytelling, and if you've not been applying it in for your content, then it's something you're going to really need to start applying. Now, storytelling applies to any niche, whether you are in the medical, healthcare, or you are an actor. I mean, obviously actors and actresses use that. So whatever industry that you are in, a medical practitioner, a public speaker, a techie, fintech, education, the rules of storytelling basically applies to all across board. And once you can get this basic, which we are going to discuss about my stick formula, then you'll be able to apply it, and trust me, you'll start getting results. And just in case I forget, once we are done with class, please try and drop a post on LinkedIn if you can. If you've not done it in a while, do something with this formula and tag me when you're writing your post so that I can also review your content and tell you what I think about your post. Now, we talk about the brain science of stories. There's a science to storytelling, and part of this science says that when you tell stories that are basically relatable to your audience, it has a way of touching into that emotional connection. This is the reason why storytelling is important, and this is the reason why there's still a very large difference between AI writing and human storytelling. There's a very distinct difference, because when a human being is relating with another human being, most times, especially when it comes to communication, you communicate in such a way that your words and your experiences are relatable. Storytelling is connected to experiences. Storytelling is connected to questions. Storytelling is also, when used properly, is connected to identifying the pain points of your target audience and applying the relevant kind of stories to tell. We have different kinds of stories. We have the professional stories, we have the personal stories, we have the vulnerable stories, but each of the stories, if applied the right way, can actually give you that level of thought leadership that you want. So most times people think that storytelling is strictly for entertainment. but that is not true. You can't decide though to leave it as strictly entertainment. However, you can also apply the rule of entertainment and facts, that is information, education, and entertainment. These three rules, if you apply them to your storytelling capacity, and let me remind you, nobody's born with storytelling skills. People work on their storytelling skills. So if you're able to make your story entertaining and it has information, it is also educative, then it keeps your audience glued to your content, whether it is written storytelling or visual storytelling. Now we have the written storytelling and we have the visual storytelling. The visual storytelling come in form of videos, while the written aspect of storytelling is simply just writing alone, right? So there's a difference: written storytelling, written brand storytelling, and visual brand storytelling. Every brand has what they call an origin story. Every brand is meant to have an origin. Now, what is an origin story? What is your why? What is your purpose? Why do you do what you do? And who are the people you are positioned for? Now, we spoke earlier about identifying your niche. What niche are you into? What industry are you into? In finding your niche, the first thing you're going to be talking about is who are the people you have a solution for? What solution can you provide? And who are these people that are experiencing those particular pain points you have the solution for? And this is where the brain science of stories come in. If you have, there's a saying we have in Africa where they say, well, in Nigeria, let me be specific, that it is he who wears the shoe that knows where the shoe is pinching him or her. Meaning that if I have a pain point and I'm sharing a story about a particular pain point, only people, a certain set of people who have gone through that same problem will be able to identify with that story. So this is one of the reasons why when you're positioning on social media, whether it's YouTube, whether it is Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn, you need to be very clear. Clarity is important in understanding what your niche is so that you can tell the applicable stories and the relevant stories to your target audience. Because if you don't tell the right stories, they will get lost. Now, when I'm talking about stories here and storytelling, I'm talking about brand storytelling, not entertainment storytelling. Storytelling that involves thought leadership and positioning you as an authority in your field. So if you're into AI or tech, there are certain stories you can tell to show people how you started your journey and what problems you're able to solve. Now, in applying the rule of storytelling is to explain to your audience that these are the pain points of your target audience. This is the solution you can provide. These are the features of the solution you can provide. And in a certain period, you give a time span on how these solutions can be brought to life. But moving on to the brain science of storytelling, I'll tell you for a fact, and it has been proven, that stories attract people and gain people's attention 22 times more than facts do. Did you get that? Stories attract people and keep people grounded 22 times more than facts and figures. That is to say, when you're sharing information with people, when you are saying that, can you remember in 1952, there were 10,000, once you start throwing figures around, you lose people. But if you apply a story to these facts and figures, explaining the origin, then it keeps people's focus grounded to what you're trying to say. So people are more likely to remember stories than remembering facts and figures. And of course, that's why a lot of people are glued to gossip blogs and vlogs that talks about lifestyles and all that. People, it sticks better in people's memory than so many other things. So I'll give an example. So let's say all these reality shows, right? We have the BBN Niger. We have those reality shows where the African Idols, American Idols, and all that. You'll find that you can easily remember the names of celebrities, what happens in their lives, the interesting aspects they have in their lives, because it's more fun to hear about all these things. But if you're going to talk about what is the highest paying stock in the market, what is the statistics of the richest man in the world, you probably may have difficulty in remembering those figures, because it is so much easier for your brain to assimilate and understand stories than facts and figures. And this is what we mean by the brain science of stories. It's the capacity capacity of the human brain to remember stories is higher than facts and figures. And then another aspect of storytelling is that it builds what we call a human connection. Now, this human connection, you are telling a story to another human being. It builds a stronger synergy than when you're telling a story to a machine, or a machine is telling a story to another machine. So obviously, storytelling was made for human beings because we thrive on stories. We have, of course, if you remember how information used to pass down history, it's through storytelling, using Africans as an instance, and even not just African, I think worldwide. When we remember things like World War I, World War II, World War III, or maybe even the Bible or the Quran, many of them leverage on the power of storytelling. In the midst of all the facts and figures, this is the science behind it. And that's why we have courses like history, we have courses like sociology, we have courses like psychology. They all leverage on storytelling as well, and even politics. But we're not going to go into that. So the point here is that storytelling builds a strong connection between human beings. Now, I'll explain another thing. You see, before you sell anything to anyone, there's what we call in sales the KLT factor. Before anybody buys anything from you, they must know you, they must like you, and they must trust you. Now, how do you get somebody to trust you with their funds to buy into your program or into your offer? The only thing that makes people to trust you is because they feel that they know you first. Now, knowing you doesn't mean they know all the nitty-gritty about you or all your dirty secrets. No, that's not what I mean. Knowing you means that they have built a perception about you to a point where they can trust you with their with the sale or with whatever relationship or transaction you're going to have with them. So going back again, the KLT factor. Before anybody buys from you, they must know you, they must like you, and they must trust you. So recap: the brain science of stories. The human beings remember stories 22 times more than facts, and storytelling builds a connection from one human being to the other, a more solid connection. And this is the reason why storytelling is key, because it's a simpler way of explaining complicated information. That is why people remember it more. It's more powerful than stating obvious facts and figures. All right, and which is why narration of stories, if you check all over social media right now, I mean on YouTube, on TikTok and Instagram, what grabs people's attention the most is storytelling. Now, we're talking about the art of LinkedIn storytelling. So why does LinkedIn love stories? Now, let me also remind you that every social media platform loves stories. The only thing is just that we are putting more emphasis on LinkedIn today. All right? And the emphasis is because we're trying to explain here that the algorithm enjoys dwell time. If you've observed, every social media platform is jealous, permit me to say. They want you glued on their platform for hours. So using LinkedIn as an example, when you engage on other people's content, the algorithm rewards you by pushing out your profile to more people for people to see you, which we also call visibility. So the more you engage with other people's content, the more the algorithm is pleased with you, and the more you post consistently, the algorithm loves you more. It has no personal beef with anyone. However, there are certain things or certain actions that you do that makes it endeared to you more than maybe some other people. And one of it is called dwell time. Every social media platform has it. They want you to stay more. And when they want you to stay more, they study your pattern. For instance, if you're the type that you love watching food blogs, watching people cook all manner of delicacies, the algorithm is going to pick that you love watching things like this, and it will keep sending you more and more and more of this. So it means that you are engaging more on such platforms. And this is the reason why on LinkedIn and on any platform, you must be very careful where you engage, who you engage with, because the algorithm believes that whoever you're engaging with has a solution to your pain point. And what is that pain point? The algorithm has a pain point of dwell time. it wants more people to stay on the platform. And that is why LinkedIn favors storytelling more. And that is why even more platforms, YouTube also, is looking for a way to encourage more people to mix storytelling, education, information, to keep the audience glued to the platforms. And which is why sometimes people say, don't get too addicted to your platform, right? To your page or your channel or whatever social media handle you're using. So LinkedIn loves stories because the algorithm has noticed that if you apply more stories, relatable stories, and I'm talking about professional stories, stories that talk about the problems you can solve. So for instance, if you're a medical practitioner, I don't expect you to be telling stories about being an actress, because that would definitely not sit well with your target audience. So now we're talking about how the algorithm enjoys dwell time. Another reason why LinkedIn favors storytelling, which is, our topic, the art of storytelling on LinkedIn, another reason why it favors it is because storytelling is also used to emphasize thought leadership. So if you want to become a thought leader, how do you define thought leadership? Thought leadership is showing your community or your audience or the people you engage with that you are a master or an expert in a particular field. Just simple terms, that is what thought leadership means. So if you want to position yourself as a thought leader, it therefore means that your content that you're putting out consistently speaks solely to whatever your defined niche is, using the art of storytelling. Storytelling means sharing your experiences, sharing your journey, sharing your client's journey, sharing transformation stories, we're coming down to that, and sharing from ground zero to ground 100. This is what storytelling is not about, meaning that you're not just going to be sharing gossip. That's not the kind of storytelling we're talking about, especially for LinkedIn. However, there are niches that are particular about sharing gossip. But hey, we're talking about the professional aspect of storytelling. So that means as a thought leader and as an authority in your field, you are most likely at least 95% a professional and an expert in your field, meaning that you have done what you've been doing for a minimum of 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years. You have gained a very high level of expertise in what you are doing. And that is why we are talking about thought leadership. So as a thought leader, if you are able to create your own brand, your personal brand or your organizational brand, and position yourself as a thought leader, it helps with your visibility. And then the algorithm will keep pushing your content out for more and more people to notice you. All right. Now, another reason why LinkedIn loves stories is because your stories are relatable. For instance, if I were to be a weight loss coach and I'm telling you a story about how I struggled to lose 50 kg, it will be easy for somebody else who is in that same predicament, in that same situation, to relate. So I'm sure when you watch other people's channels, maybe on YouTube or other social media platforms, and there are certain stories they share, it hits a certain part of your heart or your mind because you find it relatable. Relatable in the sense that you have either experienced that same thing or you know somebody else who has experienced that same thing. And that is where relatability in brand storytelling comes in, because you want to be sure that the problems that you are solving are problems that are actually real and relatable, not to just you but to your audience. So when you are pushing out your content, when you're talking about brand storytelling, when you're identifying your niche, you must be clear. Remember, I said clarity. You must be clear on your target audience. If you don't know who your target audience are, then you need to do a research. First of all, ask yourself certain questions. What am I an expert in? What am I very good at that if I'm woken up in the night, it will be easy for me to talk about, teach, explain. So if you're good at teaching mathematics, for instance, you can apply the formula of storytelling to teaching math. Yes, by using relatable examples. If you're a medical practitioner, let's say medical doctor, yes, you can also apply the art of storytelling in teaching your medicine. If you are a weight loss coach, you can also apply it by sharing transformation stories of your clients or people you have worked with in the past. or better still, your own personal stories. Now, nothing too exposing, right? Nothing too exposing, but something that can show your audience that you understand what you're talking about. And which is why we said that the brain science of stories tells us that humans remember stories 22 times more than facts. All right? So we also established that storytelling creates an emotional connection from one person to the other. We all love stories, right? Whether it's gossip, whether it's stories about other people, what other people have done. So this is the magic of storytelling. Remember, I also mentioned that why LinkedIn loves stories is because the algorithm has noticed that when people apply storytelling to their content, people stay longer to read the stories. This is what we call dwell time. All right, we defined that earlier on. And from that, gradually, you build up to a stage where you now be known as a thought leader or an authority in your field. Now, like I also said, another magic about storytelling is that it must be relatable. It must be something that, and now, I've heard people say, oh, doctor, can we formulate a story? Can we create a fictional story and bring it to life? I'm not going to tell you yes, and I'm not going to tell you no, but I'll tell you that if your story is fictitious, you know, we have the real storytelling and we have the fictional storytelling. If your story is fictitious, you may most likely lose credibility. So that's not what we're preaching here. We're not preaching loss of credibility. We're talking about you being relatable and becoming a thought leader in your field. Now, another beautiful aspect about brand storytelling and using it to build a profitable, visible, and monetizable brand is that it creates what we call a trust ladder. If anybody's going to buy anything from you, they must buy into you before they buy from you. Let's take that again. Before anybody buys anything from you, they must buy into you before they buy from you. So they must buy into your brand. They must trust your brand. They must believe in your brand before they buy your brand. We have so many brands. For instance, I recently did a video on Steve Jobs, and I explained about his brand. I'm premiering it next week, Wednesday, and I spoke and I explained extensively how he used his own brand, and everybody now loves to have an iPhone. Well, maybe not everybody, but at least a lot of people love to have an iPhone. Why? You just don't buy only the phone because of its features. Many phones have the same features. You buy because of what the phone itself represents. Now, if you're also talking about platforms, each platform has the kind of brand, the kind of people they attract to their brand. So the trust ladder here basically is that any story you tell, as long as it is relatable to your brand, as long as it's relatable to the products you are selling or the services you are selling, you can actually convince people to buy into your brand because they trust what you are saying. Of course, this is where using clients' transformation stories, of course, without divulging their identities, come into play. So this trust ladder is very, very important in this aspect. Now, when you're telling a story, I don't know if you've experienced it before, but I know clearly that I had a client who had, I tried sharing it earlier when we started the class. She had about 1,200 followers on LinkedIn. And she was posting consistently. In fact, 7 times a week. But there was a very big problem. She wasn't making any sales. She wasn't getting good impressions. And her posts weren't doing too well. So when we now started having her class, I created a brand story for her. She didn't have a brand story. So please, I'm encouraging you, if you don't have a brand story, please create a brand story, right? If you don't know how to create a brand story, please drop in the comment section. I'll come up with another class to teach you how to create a brand story. I've shared that before, but I can still share it again. Now, I showed her how to create a brand story. And when she created the brand story and started sharing different aspects of her brand story, people started trusting her more because they found her as a human. She wasn't sounding robotic anymore. She wasn't sounding fake anymore. She wasn't sounding superficial anymore. She was sounding more like a human being. Humans want to connect. That emotional connection is what drives people to engage with you, to converse with you, and then you can now convert them. So her story, first of all, resonated with her audience. So any story you are telling, any brand story you are telling for your brand, it must resonate with your audience. So the story resonated with your audience. But before it resonates with your audience, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what kind of story am I supposed to be telling now? Easiest way, your purpose. Define your purpose, define your why. What led you into the medical line? What led you to become an actress? What led you to become a creator on YouTube? Maybe you needed a second source of income, or third source of income, or maybe you were just bored and you decided, okay, let me just try LinkedIn, or let me just try YouTube. What is the reason you are doing what you are doing? Why is the reason you are doing what you are doing? These are the first steps to use in creating a personal brand story. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, why does she keep saying personal brand story? Yes, because people buy into you first before they buy from you, earlier said. No matter the organization, no matter the company, people don't even remember the name of the company. They remember the name, your name, because you are your company. You are your organization. And I'll tell you something, if you're a creator on YouTube or a creator on LinkedIn, you are already a business. You need to understand that running a page on either YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, it is a business because it deals with how people perceive you. If they don't perceive you right, they will never trust anything that you say. And which is why the trust ladder, creating the trust ladder is very, very critical. So once you create your brand story, now how do you create your brand story? You must first of all define your why and your what and your how. Once you're done with that, then you must ask yourself, what is your mission statement? What are those things, those pain points you can address now for your target audience? What are those pain points? Then you move on to what we call your vision statement. You can't jump into your vision statement immediately. You must create a mission statement first. After your mission statement, your mission is your present, and your vision is your future, what you want to achieve for your clients in the future. And it's very, very important if you want to sell yourself. I hear you say, but I'm not into sales. I don't sell, I don't know how to sell, I don't know how to tell stories. You need to learn. I wasn't born with the skill, and so many good storytellers, brand storytellers, and business strategies were not born with the skill. They learned and kept implementing and practicing over time. Now, building your brand story, making sure that the story resonates, then you move on to, once your story resonates, I don't know if you've experienced it, but if you're a LinkedIner on YouTube and you drop something, please pay attention to the comment section. Once you start seeing comments like, I resonate, or you see people sharing their own experiences. Yes, I remember when something like this happened to me. I have also experienced something similar. That is a sign to let you know that your story is actually hitting specific pain points and people are understanding what you are talking about. So this is what we mean by resonance. Okay, but before it can resonate, like I said, there are certain questions you must ask yourself: your vision, your mission statement, your vision statement, your why, your purpose, and your how. Your how is, how do you want to help them to transform? It's not only good enough to be able to identify the pain points. How can you help them solve these pain points? Okay, then we now talked about conversation. Once they can resonate, engagement automatically starts happening. So you now start having people having conversations with you in the comment section. That's when you know that your story is actually working. And once you start having conversation with you, the next thing is what? Conversion. Conversion comes in the form of, hey, do you have any coaching classes? Hey, do you have any free programs I can use? Hey, do you have any boot camp? They immediately want you to either mentor them, coach them, teach them, or guide them. This is where conversion happens. And this is why we say when you want to sell your brand to people, you need to know how to sell with storytelling, because it is the only thing that knows how to sell you without selling you, right? Did you get that? It's the only thing that helps you to sell you without selling you. Meaning you don't want to sound salesy and pushy when you're trying to convince people to buy into your brand, into your products, and into your service. So we speak about story, resonance, conversation, and then conversion. Now, like I said, people buy into you before they buy from you. We spoke about the KLT factor. They must know you, they must like you, and they must trust you. Trust is so important, especially as a content creator, as a founder, any business-minded person. Your business, part of the foundations or pillars of your business must be based on trust. So in building a profitable personal brand, people have to trust your brand. But we're still going to come into other factors about that. Now, we're going to different kind of stories. What are the kind of stories you need to be telling to convince people to buy into your brand? I earlier spoke about the origin story, right? Now we have what we call the failure lesson story. Failure lesson. Get it? Failure and then the lesson. Where is it that you have failed? You don't necessarily need to tell everybody all the aspects of your life that is a failure. And any failure you're going to share, please take notes. There must be a failure that you have won. Don't just share only the failure. You need to share the lesson of that failure, because it is that lesson that convinces people you know what you're talking about. So when you're telling your brand stories, please take notes. If you're sharing a failure or a challenge or an issue in your past or your present, you must have been able to conquer that failure or challenge. For instance, if you're a weight loss coach and you're telling people, I can help you lose 20 kg. If you are obese, there is no way anybody is going to take you serious, because they're going to say you failed already as a weight loss coach. If you could not lose weight as an individual, then how can you help me to lose weight, right? So this is what I mean by the failure lesson story. Now, we said the kinds of stories you should be telling for your brand are your origin story, which is also known as your brand story, the failure lesson story, and then we have the client transformation story. I love this. Is even my best. This is even what I share most of the time that helps me to close 5-figure deals, 6-figure deals, and 7-figure deals. Client transformation stories. And when we talk about client transformation, we're talking about the before and after. You get what I mean? Most people love to see before and after pictures, before and after stories. It's mind-blowing, especially if the variance in the two is very wide, if the outcome is really beautiful. So what I mean is that one of the stories you also need to share, you can get these things down. All you need to do is to itemize the clients you've worked with in the past. So what if you have not worked with any client, right? You don't have any clients currently existing, then you should be able to share your own transformation story. If you're a weight loss coach and you're able to lose 30 kg, share your transformation story. If you're a medical practitioner and you have people you've helped to overcome high blood pressure, cholesterol, whatever it may be, share your own transformation story if you've also been in that particular shoe. If you're a content creator and you're able to teach other people how to write content, share your own transformation story or the transformation stories of people you helped. Probably screenshots of their before and after, of course, with their permission. Now, you can also share what we call day in the life story, which is also known as behind the scene. I absolutely love this type because it teaches you so much about it makes it more relatable, more realistic, and more believable. Not everybody may like this kind of story because it can be pretty vulnerable. There's some certain things you may need to say to convince people that you are the real deal. But bear in mind that both the origin story, failure and lesson story, client transformation story, and day in the life of story are geared towards building you as a thought leader in your niche, in your industry, or in your field. So moving on, we're also going to be talking about briefly my very sweet formula called the STICK framework. Now, STICK framework is STICK. I use this to create stories for myself. I use this to guide myself on the kind of stories to tell, so that I don't go off course, so that I don't tell irrelevancies, and so that whatever I'm saying is taken seriously. So I'll go onto that shortly, so that we can wrap up this class in the next 10 minutes thereabout. First things first, S stands for starting strong. Now, when I say starting strong, I always emphasize your first 2, 3, 4 lines when you're telling your story is what we call your hook. For those that have been in my class in the past, they know that I am so crazy about your hook and rehook. Your hook are the first 2, 3 lines your audience reads, and your rehook are the following 2, 3 lines your audience read. These are the things that keep your audience glued to your content. Now, your hook must always address a pain point. Once you're starting your story should not just start with any kind of word. It should start with actually the pain point your target audience is experiencing. Starts with tell the journey. Remember, I said this is what I call my stick formula. STICK, stick formula. I use this to craft my stories all the time, and for the clients that I ghostwrite, because I'm also a ghostwriter, I write for CEOs and founders as well, and I use this formula for them. And then when I train my one-on-one training as well, I use this formula. So start strong, that's for letter S. Letter T is to tell the journey. This is just absolute. Don't miss out on this. Your stories cannot be someone else's story. The stories could be similar. You could have a similar brand story to someone else. Let's say 2 of you are in the same niche, 2 of you are medical practitioners, or 2 of you are public speakers, or 2 of you are executive assistants or virtual assistants. The reason why one person is in a virtual assistant may not be the same reason why somebody else becomes a virtual assistant. Someone may decide to go into a niche because they need an extra source of income. Another person can go into a niche because it's a family tradition. And another person can go into that same niche because they had no other options, right? So can you see the difference? So your story can be like someone's story, but not exactly, which is why we say leverage on your experiences and your journey, because this is what endears people to you. Start strong, S. Tell the journey, T. Then for, of course, telling the journey is conflict, challenge, but remember, keep it human. Okay? Then I is include insight. Your story has to be relevant. Like, remember we talked about failure and lesson. Your story doesn't make any sense if there is no lesson to it. Why are you sharing the story? So when you're on LinkedIn, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Instagram or TikTok, when you are sharing a story, I'm not talking about entertainment story, I'm talking about whatever products or services you are selling, you should have an insight that you want to share with your audience. Now, when I'm talking about insights, I'm saying, what moral do you want your audience to know? What lesson are they going to learn from what you are sharing? There must be something to gain from this information that you are sharing. What do you want them to understand? What change or transformation do you want to put them through? What impact are you trying to share, or knowledge you are trying to instill on them? If at the end of the day you share a story that has no impact, no lesson or information, remember the earlier when we started the class today, I said your story should inform, it should educate, and it should entertain. If it entertains alone, then there may be no relevance at the end of the day. So entertainment, educate, and inform are 3 very crucial things your story or your content should have. So ensure that there's an insight, which is for letter I. And C is call to engage. That is, when you are telling your stories, I always tell my clients in the comment section, if you because your LinkedIn gives I think only 3,000 words, and I think even on YouTube you have what you can actually pin a comment in the comment section, so that when people come to the comment section, they can relate to that comment, and then you see questions and engagements and conversations happening. This happens on all social media platforms. You can actually pin comments. On LinkedIn too, you can have as much as to keep it simple, 5 comments in the comment section. Immediately you drop your post, drop like 5 comments asking people, if you were in this situation, how would you react? How many times have you felt like quitting LinkedIn? Or how many times have you felt like quitting YouTube? Or how many times have you felt like quitting social media? Or how many times have you struggled with your health? Or how many times have you struggled to speak in public? Or how many times have you been shamed? Ask questions. Questions drive engagement. Questions drive engagement, and questions help people to understand the point you are trying to make. All right? So this is something that is very, very exciting. Remember, I said start strong, tell the journey, right? And when you're telling the journey, talk about the conflict, the challenge, keep it simple. I is to include insight, and C is call to engage, which we also call call to action. Do you understand? So when we talk about call to action basically is telling your audience how you want to talk about. Mana, please, can you leave my class? Thank you. This is not for you. This class is not for you. My students are here. I can see them. Right. So K means keep it relevant, right? So keeping it relevant means that whatever story that you are telling, it should be relevant to your target audience, okay? So when we say relevant to your target audience, we are saying STICK. Remember that your brand story should be very, very relevant to your target audience. What is your niche? What are the category of people that you're talking to? Then finally, for the art of LinkedIn storytelling, we are ending with format, visuals, hashtag posting, and rhythm. All right, so format simply states that your post should be clean and easily understandable by by your audience, meaning that it should have correct spacing. Whatever you're typing should have correct space in between, and then the visuals should always be clear and speak to the exact point you are trying to talk about. Then don't forget that hashtags are very important on social media for your personal brand. You can use your name as a hashtag, you can use your industry as a hashtag, but just bear in mind that anytime you're creating a post, whether it is on YouTube or on LinkedIn, you should use a minimum of 3 to 5 hashtags for your content. Now, when we're talking about posting rhythm simply talks about how regularly do you want to post, how consistently do you want to post, what time of the day do you want to post. So some people say posting consistently means 3 times a week, some say 5 times a week, some say 7 times a week, but I say find that sweet spot that is comfortable for you so that you don't experience burnout at the end of the day. So your formatting must be good, your visuals must be okay, your hashtag must be nice, and your posting rhythm must be consistent. So if you decide you want to be posting 11 a.m. every morning, then you need to keep that so that the algorithm can favor your posts, okay? So remember, once again, the topic is the art of LinkedIn storytelling. We spoke about the brain science of stories, and we said that the humans are 22 times more likely to remember your story than facts and figure. We also explained that storytelling creates an emotional connection between you and your target audience. Of course, your story, your brand story must have a vision, must have a mission, must have an origin story, and must be relevant to your audience. Now, we also asked that why does LinkedIn love stories? Because the algorithm favors those who create stories so that people can experience what the algorithm knows as the dwell time. When the stories are captivating, when they're relatable, and they actually solve a problem, people dwell more on your content and read more, and then the algorithm favors you in turn by calling more people to engage with your content. Also, storytelling is a very, very systematic and strategic way to build thought leadership in a very interesting manner so you don't bore your audience, and of course it is relatable. You can also use storytelling to build what we call the trust ladder. Like I said, people apply what we call the KLT factor. They must know you, they must like you, and they must trust you before they buy into your service. So when you want to build a profitable and a profitable personal brand, you must be very, very careful as to the way people perceive you and the audience that you're serving. All right, and when we're talking about the trust ladder, we're talking about building an origin story, how to make it resonate with your audience, how to increase conversation that leads to conversion at the end of the day. And finally, we spoke about the origin story, the failure lesson story, the client transformation story that I highly recommend, as well as the day in the life story. Some people don't like to share that because it's very vulnerable. And thank you, Mama. Thank you very much. And then we spoke about the stick framework. So yes, and we've come to the end of today's class. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mama, for staying with me. I will be advising inside the group where we'll be having the next class. On Sunday, we'll be having our WhatsApp community call to attend to any LinkedIn challenges or issues. And if you're just joining my live for the first time, my name remains Dr. Ish, brand storyteller and business strategist. Please feel free to drop comments in the comment section and any challenges you may be having on LinkedIn or on social media, and I'll be very happy to help. God bless you. Thank you so much, Mama. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you for showing up. I trust you had a nice time. So if you have any more questions for me, Mama, we can put that in a WhatsApp class and I will gladly respond to it. God bless you. Have a lovely day. Thank you, Ma. Bye.